I guess one thing that I like from here is that sorry, if you remember, go ahead.
No, I don't.
Is that when he talks about how he found Jacob or Israel in an empty, howling waste, looked after.
Yeah, that's very picturesque, isn't it?
It's very evocative. I like that. But as far as the message that I got is that he also says that then he gave him honey from the crag, he gave him oil from the flinty rock, curd of kine, milk of flocks, all this good stuff. And then he says, you grew fat and gross and coarse. That's how it's translated here. And that really pisses God off. So at first you could read it, well, God, it's your fault. You gave him all this great stuff, and then he got fat on it, and then you get pissed off. Well, what's that about? But to me, it makes sense. It's because there's hope and opportunity in there. It's saying that there's a way to live, because you have to assume then that there's a way that he could have received all those benefits. Israel could have received all this affluence and material, but handled it gracefully, without going fat and coarse and whatever else, fat and gross and coarse. So, that just, to me, was something nice about Judaism. It says that you can do it right. If you do become, if you have material success and you succeed, whatever, there's nothing to judge yet. The question is, do you handle it well? And do you handle it right? And that's nice.
I remember what I wanted to say. I remember I was sitting in shul, and my friend who's been married for more than 20 years was saying, oh, doesn't that girl on the other side of the mechitza look like Nicole Kidman? And I said to him, when I've been married more than 20 years, girls like that will look like Nicole Kidman to me too. She was like the total plain Jane. But my friend has been married forever. He was just dying,
Yeah.
And it's like, she looked like Nicole Kidman to him.
Right. Hey, well, it's true. I mean, they get deprivation does all kinds of things to your eyes. So yeah, it's funny. She looks like Nicole Kidman. So did the last one, and so is every other chick, blonde, brunette, and redhead that I see. Well, looks a little bit like Nicole Kidman. See, that's the time to get thee to go to the other town and do your nastiness there. Gosh.
What do you think about Elliot Spitzer? Like, he lost his whole political career for hookers.
Right. Well, but the funny thing about that is I remember when it happened, and I saw this, I started laughing. I saw this, it was either a news article or like a news, TV news thing saying, next, men in power, why do they do it? And I was just like, are you kidding me?
Because they can.
Yes.
They can afford it.
Because why do men with power and wealth and influence and accessible to lots of gorgeous women, why do they touch those women? Why does it happen? It's just so ludicrous.
I directed a porn movie. I directed a porn movie called What Women Want. I got the funding for it. I got the actress for it. I got the guys for it. I rented the room. I got an extra cameraman. And then I told the woman to do things to the guys and the guys to do things to the women. And it was the most powerful, amazing, wonderful feeling you can imagine. It was like, suck him off.
That's extraordinary.
And she had to do it. And
yes.
I got to film it.
I would think that must be on a really basic level. That's in some ways the ultimate expression of human power.
Yeah, suck him up.
Yeah,
she will, because I'm paying her $1,200.
Yeah, I mean, so you.
And then 5 parolees had their way with her.
Parolees?
Well, maybe not literally, but it seemed like it.
Yeah, I mean that's without judging yay or nay. I mean that's just so that's why they do it. I mean that's the same reason why.
Just imagine being able to order some beautiful. She was beautiful, the hooker lady.
Yeah.
24-year-old, hooker to your hotel room when you get down to DC and.
Right. Well, what did you think about the fact? Because then some people were like, "Well, what makes it so awful is that he was such an active political campaigner against sex trafficking." What did you think of that? How did that affect things for you?
I mean, I totally empathized with the poor guy. I mean, I'm glad I didn't have any money. God has kept me poor because He knows if I ever got any money, I'd be ordering in hookers.
Well, yeah, I think. Well, that's why I was laughing when I saw that thing, is because the question seemed ludicrous to me, maybe not to others, but I
didn't think what he did was heinous. I didn't think it. Like, I understand why it's going to cost him his job. I understand why society has to stigmatize that sort of behavior. And I understand why he had to lose his job. And, you know, I hated the guy anyway, so I was just really happy to see him fail.
Right.
But it doesn't bother me that he was a campaigner against sex trafficking. Like, it doesn't bother me if someone, like, is a campaigner against gambling and they love to gamble. I mean, you publicly you do the right thing, and then privately you're weak. I mean, I assure you, my behavior outside this room is quite different from some of my behavior inside this room with the blinds down.
Right. Well, one would hope so. Anyone who acts in private, one would hope so.
Someone said something profound that, like, if someone acted, if his private and public were totally in sync, you'd be really screwed up, because in private you want to be a little more spontaneous, and in public you do want to have rectitude, and it's not necessary for public and private
to be the same.
To be the same.
I agree. I mean, I think that you don't want to misrepresent. Yes, I agree. I mean, I think that because you show respect for people in public, which is good, you don't have to do that in your own space. And there are some things that are appropriate for private and not appropriate in public.
On a 1 to 10, like with 10 being genocide and 1 being forgetting to say hamotzi over bread, where would you rank his sin of ordering hookers?
Well, I'm going to have to be honest and say I just don't rank it very high.
3.
Maybe a 3. I'm a little even ambivalent about calling it a sin, because the only...
How heinous was his deed?
The only way I can evaluate that is, and then it's still none of my business, but is what did it mean in the context of his relationship with his wife? Was their relationship built on the understanding that, hey, you know, Elliot, I don't care. You think I can? I don't. Well, maybe she does care, but okay, we agreed. You get to screw hookers. I'm not happy about it, but that's what we've agreed, and this is how our relationship works. If he broke the confines of that relationship, or then I know I don't want to get into a personal relationship. Maybe I don't want to get into a personal relationship with Elliot Spitzer. Certainly not a sexual one. But what was the sin? I mean, this woman. My understanding of that woman was that this was not only, unlike most women who are trafficked sexually. I mean, this was a hell of a gig for her. She was paid extremely well, and she did it because she wanted to live a lifestyle to which she otherwise would not have access. And he treated her well, she said. He was a little. It sounded like he was a little sexually kooky. I regret that we didn't get the details on that, but not in a way that was off-putting. So, what's the sin? I don't know where the sin is.
If you were like dictator of the United States and you had the power to remove or keep him in power as governor of New York, and you had to make a decision on that issue, would you have removed him or would you have kept him in power after this came out?
If I were
the dictator of the United States.
No, if his job was to govern the state of New York,
yeah.
No, I wouldn't have. I would have kept him in power. I wouldn't. I mean, it wouldn't really have. I mean, it depends on what the nature of his job there was. If his job was to be the moral leader, and not even moral leader, if it was to demonstrate specific principles that other people we hoped would emulate, and one of them was don't sleep with hookers, then I would fire him.
But just governor of New York.
No, then I don't see why. I mean, if it damaged his credibility with the population of New York, then maybe. But
how heinous was Bill Clinton's getting blowjobs from Monica Lewinsky on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being genocide and 1 being forgetting to say hamotzi?
Maybe a 2.
Yeah.
I just the problem to me is actually that we live in a culture where the news would ask a question like that. That there's why would a powerful man with access to lots of extraordinary women, why would he touch one of them? And ask it just from good Lord, how does it happen? And that you would live where that level of what seems to me pig ignorance about human nature is not only out there but newsworthy, because it's that's the problem. I mean, we're asking people to. We're expecting society to comprise something other than human beings. It's weird.
It's interesting. This guy was on track to be president of the United States.
Yeah.
He gave it all up to have sex with hookers.
Well, he didn't know he was giving it up.
But I mean, if he was thinking rationally.